All right, hopefully all this is in frame. I decided to come camping and going to try out tent camping for the first time in years. I've been a hammock camper for a very long time, but I got this big Agnes Salt Creek SL3. This is not the bag that it came in. That bag was just disastrously poorly constructed, and it tore, I think, the first time, taking the tent out. So I've made this new one out of Gore-Tex fabric, so it's waterproof on the outside of my bag. But now I'm just going to run a quick, sort of like a sped up time-lapse thing of me putting this together. And we'll talk about it either after it's together or after my first night's sleep in it. We'll figure it out. Okay, hopefully I'm still in the shot. So there it is assembled. Now, it's very easy for one person to do, as you saw. I could just do it. I guess the question to ask is why, if I'm backpacking solo, if I'm camping solo, would I take a 3-person tent? Well, you probably wouldn't, and I wouldn't either. I purchased this to go camping with my wife and our dog, but I haven't had a chance to test it out yet. A lot of things happen with, I don't know, COVID, things like that. So some things have got behind schedule. And so this is an opportunity for me to test this out, even though it's just me and I'd normally prefer to do that backpacking style. Brief summary, if you're not familiar with the Salt Creek SL3, it is technically a 3-person tent, I guess, but it's a very comfortable 2-person tent. I'll open this up in a minute. But for the amenities it has, it's very lightweight. I mean, I packed it in by myself. It's not ideal, but it could certainly be far worse. So everything I brought in, I've got the ground cover, the ground tarp down here, then the tent itself, obviously, and then the rain tarp, and everything's color coded. The orange goes in the front, gray go in the back. It's very easy to put together. The only downside is, like as with most tents, if you want to gout every single rigging point, the amount of stakes they give you is not going to be enough. I've got the 4 corners and the 2 doors staked out, and I've got 2 left. And if you wanted to do, for example, these corner flies right here, or you want to pull the sides out to offer more ventilation, you need a handful more stakes. But that's kind of par for the course with a lot of tents like this. But the cool thing is, it's a 3-door tent with 2 vestibules, one on either side. They're pretty roomy. You could put, your wet shoes underneath of them, small pack, cookware if you don't want to put that in your tent, that sort of thing. You do have 2 of them, so if you're sleeping, you need to get up in the middle of the night and use the restroom, or want to exit the tent for any other reason, you don't have to disturb whoever you might be sleeping with. And then the front is this ginormous tent with this roll-up vestibule, but this also be pulled out and guide out to like hiking poles, and it makes kind of like a little front porch, a little tarp, so you could have some shade and stuff like that if needed. Obviously that's not going to pertain to this trip. It's already getting dark, and it's supposed to get down to around freezing tonight, so I'm gonna have everything zipped down. I'm not worried about having a front porch. So and then inside the tent, very roomy. This can roll up down front right here, so you can leave this open. And then inside there's a nice little canopy mesh section, so if you wanted to throw gloves, a beanie, hat, nothing probably really heavy should go up there, but tonight, like I said, I'll probably throw my headlamp up there, my gloves, my beanie if I'm not wearing it, that sort of thing. I'm looking to see if there's a little loop, some nylon in the ceiling to hang a lantern from. I've got a little camping lamp I may use up that way. But then you have these big doors that can also be rolled back and that sort of thing. So I'll take the camera in just a second and show you all that. You can kind of see everything here. It is very dark. I might be pushing the GoPro's lens a little bit. This is a long Neo Air by Thermarest, and it's pretty long, but it's touching the end down there, and then it's got about maybe 5 or 6 more inches this side of the headrest part of the bag. You can see if they call it a 3-person tent, you can do it, especially if you go opposites, but it's a very comfortable 2-person tent, and that's what I bought it for. Plenty of room for 1 person for sure. And this is, I'm actually not even using a sleeping bag tonight. This is going to be my underground quilt, top quilt that I use when I go hammock camping. And I've got a shoelace design underneath with some bungee cord to, hopefully the shop cord will help it keep wrapped around me. But looking forward to it. Now off to find some firewood. You can see up in the little canopy there, I've got a beanie, some gloves, and the tent bag. Okay, getting ready to turn in for the night. Temperatures just dropped quite a bit. I think it's, I don't know if you can see that or not. It is warmer in here than outside, obviously, but not by a whole lot. It's probably around 35, 34, somewhere in there. I was able to hook my little camp lantern up, and there's plenty of stringing here. I forgot that this tent is one of the features is it has the string loops along the top to hang LED strip lights or something like that. So there's plenty of little lash points to hang my little lantern. So anyway, it's getting really late, about 11 o'clock, gonna turn in, and we'll see how the night goes in the tent. Not supposed to be any rain. You know, we're kind of in a little valley, so low wind, so I won't be able to test the rigidity of some of the structure, but just how it sleeps, if you know, if it gets a lot of condensation, how it handles that sort of thing. So anyway, yeah, gonna turn in and catch you guys tomorrow morning. Pretty cold morning. It's warmed up now, so I didn't get the GoPro out earlier. It was stoking the fire and trying to get some oatmeal going, but getting ready to pack up and head out. This was just an overnight, and I gotta say I really did enjoy the tent. I'm more of a hammock camper, again, for general warmth and then comfort sleeping with my back. Even though I love the space, the privacy, the room to work inside of a tent, I always sleep better in a hammock. But if I were a dedicated tent sleeper, I would definitely consider a smaller version of this tent. I think they still make it. Again, I bought this tent about 1.5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago now, and just haven't had the opportunity to try it out. And but I think they make like an SL1, and that would definitely be something I would consider. Very easy to set up. Condensation in this was great. Now I was only 1 person in a 3-person tent, but you know, no strong winds, but it did everything you'd want a tent to do, and it's not super heavy. I'll lay down here. That little canopy actually was a lot more fun than I anticipated. Again, nothing heavy, but once you get the top clipped up, you know, just being able to throw, last night, like I threw my beanie in it, or a toque, depending on where you're from, I guess, my gloves, my hat. I could just throw it up in there, and a little shelf to try to catch that stuff, or enable to do it. There are also these little pockets up here on the side that these are marked with headphones, so you could like put a phone in here and run the cord out if you wanted to. There's one on both sides, but that's also a place that you can put a battery if you're going to run up through these notches here. Go this way. These little loopholes, notches that you see on the ceiling are to hold canopy lights, and then you can see the vent through into the top part of the exterior shell. It'll come down. You've got a door on both sides with vestibules, true vestibules. And what I mean by that is they have a split zipper, and you can stake out maybe like the one side and then zip it, roll back the other side. Makes it really easy to get it in and out in the middle of the night if you need to. The front opening is much bigger. It's really nice to have. Again, about 12 feet in front of the tent is the fire, so it's really great for that. You can make that little kind of overhang if you hike with hiking poles. But staking out the center line is kind of a must, just to keep, you know, it from being against the tent. But there's no rollback and there's no split, so you have to go out two sides with the zipper. Not quite as convenient, in my opinion, to go in and out as one of the side vestibules would, but it still worked. So again, cold night, really low 30s. No rain. We did have some dew. No problems with condensation. No problems with structural integrity. Again, long term, if I do go out and use this in windier conditions or inclement weather or anything like that, I probably won't make another video, but I'll add comments down in the video below just to help anybody out. So on my experience with it, I'd only put this together once prior, and that was, again, 1.5 years ago whenever I bought it. And then yesterday, again, just making sure you have the ground cover the right way. And it's pretty easy to identify the seam seal should be facing up, but if that's harder to see, the clips, the pack style clips that are in the corner for locking, I'll show you what those look like. Right here, these style clips that kind of go together, those should be facing up, obviously. And then the tent and then the ground cover are color coded, so you stack in those, run your pulse through it. And you saw from the setup yesterday that even with the abode pole design and stuff, it's very easy for one person to do once you get a corner in, kind of going around setting them up. It's got a separate cross pole. I think that should be visible from the setup, that goes across the top, that pushes the two canopy windows or the canopy openings out away from the frame itself. And they have a rubber guard and a lock. You make sure the rubber guard's to the inside so it can't slide outward. Very easy to figure out how to do. Again, everything's color coded. And then on the underside of the tarp, there's a little black pouch. I do a lot of photography, so if you're familiar at all with soft boxes, the corners of soft boxes typically have a rod pocket at the very end. You run your rod through the frame, because it's basically a tent design, and that last pocket's usually some sort of a woven web fabric with a little pocket in it. You run the notch into, and that'll allow it to have tension and pull the structure into shape. It's just like this on the bottom of these little points right here. There's a little black pocket that you just feed over that. And so it's very simple. So if you ever can't figure out what you're doing, again, you got one big door in the gray in the front, and then I throw it over and I put those tarp, those sleeves over that crossbar, and that keeps it kind of structured over the middle and centered where it's supposed to be, and then just go around and hit all your guy out. So again, one night in the woods, cold, a lot of fun. Love the tent. We'll definitely be using it for a family. It is a 3-person, I guess. They may even have some sort of weird design online that shows 4. I say it's a luxury 2-person tent. So if it was, 2 adults and maybe a medium to small sized dog, that's a really great setup. And again, I would consider something smaller for a soloist, if they still do produce them. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. If nothing else, if you're like me, you just enjoyed a video of some people outdoors. I'm going to try to get back into doing this sort of thing from time to time, but life is life, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, until next time, guys, be safe out there, and God bless.